episode of the podcast. Yeah, I had to bring my mic over. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen.
I thought I was going crazy because I couldn't hear you for like 5 minutes. And
No, it's just my dumbass. I just had my mic over to the side. It was like, oh yeah, that's right. I forgot how to do a podcast. But anyway, hello to all you beautiful, unique beings. This is Monday, January 29th, and Tuesday, January 30th. For those that are listening to the podcast the next day on whatever DSP you're listening to. But we're here to talk sports, and we'll do so every Tuesday, except for last Tuesday, apparently. We'll do so every Tuesday going forward. We're gonna absolutely show love to everybody that's watching on YouTube, which the numbers are extremely low. So I'm gonna need you guys to run the numbers up for us. We would greatly appreciate that, so we can continue to do more live stuff and give you more live content. So with that being said, Sam, this weekend was championship weekend. The games were, well, I'll spare you right now for what my emotions were from watching those games, and we'll get into it when we get to that point. But good football, depending on what side you were rooting for. Of course, there was Taylor Swift sightings. Thank you, Ravens, for screwing that up because I didn't want to see her anymore for the rest of the year. But here we are. But let's just get into this now to introduce the most dominant tag team from the East, the brains of the group, the number cruncher. He is the advisor. Sam, what's up?
what's up, my friends? Go to our YouTube page and hit subscribe, and we can get more subscribers, which is good for us. So that's my advertising for the day.
You're supposed to
Chasing
say,
Points Podcast.
smash the like button. You're supposed to say hit subscribe. You're supposed to do all of that. And then run the numbers up. And I'm just here, the other half of the team, so I won't get fined. I'm Brandon. And this is Chasing Points, episode 121. Sam, how are you? How was your weekend? How was your week since we weren't here last week? How's your hair? How's your eyes? How's your nails? How's everything?
I'm good, man. Everything is fine and dandy. Could be a little warmer here in the Northeast, but what are you gonna do? It's January, so
I mean, it could also be colder. It could also be colder.
That's true. That's true. How about you? How you doing? How you feeling? What's up?
Well, I'm great now that I fought off COVID for the second time in my life. That was rough. It was really, really rough last week. Wasn't able to go outside at all. This past weekend, well, I should say this weekend that just passed, I was able to go outside, but the weekend prior to, I was stuck in the house, like literally could not move at all. I was able to watch the games in my bed and do all that stuff, but it's not great. It's not great. But all in all, I'm here. For those that were hoping that I wasn't, you suck, and I'm still here, and it is what it is. But let's get right into this because it was championship week, as I mentioned earlier. We had some very, very interesting matchups. For the NFC, we had the Niners and the Lions. For the AFC, we had the Chiefs and we had the Ravens. So our picks, Sam and I both chose the Ravens. We were both wrong. And then Sam chose the Niners and I chose the Lions. And the Lions were looking like they were going to prove me right. And they didn't. So let's just jump in right there. Sam, go ahead.
I do want to say I had money on the Chiefs, though. So
I mean, you're not wrong for doing that because Patty Mahomes, as I've said on this podcast on many occasions at this point, it's the Brady effect, but now it's the Mahomes effect. If you're betting against him, you're just pretty much dumb at this point until Travis decides to retire, which is something that's possibly looming. We'll see if that actually happens because he's hinted to it a bunch of times, like his brother. So the Niners win 34-31 against the Lions. It was in the beginning of the game. The Lions came out first drive. Jameer the Flash Gibbs,
Roll Tide,
was absolutely a blur out there. He later show his rookie side in fumbling the ball later on in the game. But the Lions came out hot, and they said, you know what? We're here to stomp a mud hole in your ass, and we're going to show you that you don't deserve to be here. And in that first half was completely dominated by the Lions. Now, my biggest takeaway in the first half, Sam, and I'd probably say the part that irritated me the most was Dan Campbell, you go for it all year long.
That's his DNA. Yeah,
That
that's what he
is.
does,
He
and
he
we love
literally
it.
plays the percentages, and even if it's not, he's still gonna go for it anyway. We saw it in the Cowboys game earlier this year. We saw it in numerous occasions, but the Cowboys game is the most notorious one, right? They were on the 2-yard line, I believe, on 4th down, and before the quarter was about to end, 2 or let's just say 5-yard line, whatever. I'd say I think it was like 2 or 3, and they
They were
decided
inside the 5, definitely, yeah.
yeah,
They were
and they
somewhere.
decided to kick a field goal to put points on the board, which some would say do that. Or the option that I would have went with is, hey, we're up and we're here to show you that we're trying to take this, not play safe. I would have tried to run the ball in because at that point in time, the Niners weren't stopping the run game.
No, the momentum's a thing. I don't care what analytic and
Absolutely.
I like analytics. I'm not
Yep.
one of these, like, old heads that are like, it's ruining the
Well, that's
game.
why you're the advisor and the number cruncher.
Right.
So
But that said, like, the stat guys don't think momentum is a thing, and they're crazy because it totally is. And I said to my friend at one point, I was like, this shouldn't be happening right now to this Niners team. And you're right, they could have just run it up the gut, and they've been running all over this team all half, and they didn't. They didn't from there. But that I wish I could say that was the only reason that they lost, but definitely momentum did
I,
swing.
I feel that was a turning point.
Yeah,
I also feel that even though I hate the Niners, just because of the franchise and totality and the history of them, I enjoy the Niners. But their fans and some of the players on the team absolutely make me hate this version of the Niners. Um, but I have to give credit where credit's due, and they absolutely made adjustments at halftime. And one of the major adjustments is one of the people that I dislike the most is Debo Samuel, and they made sure that they got him the ball.
you're not a Debo guy. It's because of all the
Absolutely
Eagle
not.
stuff. Yeah,
I'm absolutely not a Debo guy anymore. I used to rock with Debo from
I
Clemson,
know
like,
you used to. Yeah.
and Debo just runs his mouth way too much for me. So that's fine. I mean, that's what he's supposed to do.
As an Eagles fan, are there any teams that you do like aside from
Yeah,
your team?
the Lions, who
That's fair.
ruined that. I do like the Chiefs when they're not playing the Eagles because I mess with Patty and I mess with Kelsey, and obviously I love Andy, so there's always love there.
That's fair.
Uh,
Okay.
who else? I
We
mean,
like
I
the
love a lot
Jets.
of other players, other teams. I mean, I love the Bengals too. I do enjoy the Bengals, and I enjoy the Steelers as well too because they're just the Steelers. That's
That's fair.
really it.
Okay. Yeah.
Really
So
it.
yeah,
I'm more
Debo.
so of a player guy. Like I like a lot of players in the league,
Right.
so not more really teams. But yeah, they
That's what
made that
happens
they made
when.
huge adjustments.
Yeah, they totally did, and yeah, I was really concerned, and I was explaining to. I was with my best friend, and he's not like, he likes sports, but he's not in understanding, like, game situations and what what's going on and what
Mhm.
needs to be done at certain points of the game, right? So I was explaining to him, like, time, there's still a lot of time, even though it doesn't seem like it, but here's what you need to do. And they made those adjustments. They did it. They couldn't stop the run, the Lions, and they just looked completely like a young team that just didn't make adjustments, and it was just going a little bit too fast for them in the second half. And
They
uh,
just choked.
yeah,
It's really what it is. They had a Falcons moment. Sorry, Falcons fans.
which is ironic because Kyle Shanahan was on the other end of that now, so
Yep.
that was interesting. But yeah,
I
I guess you
just
could relate it to that, right?
I because you're up and you're
17.
absolutely up by 17, you're increasing the lead again. If you go for it and score that touchdown, obviously we can't play the game of what ifs because we have no idea what would have happened. Uh, but they just literally coughed it up in more ways than one. One person I won't blame on the Lions is Jared Goff.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
won't blame him at all. Jared Goff absolutely played out of his mind in the playoffs. The latter half of the year, he played out of his mind. There's nothing in the game that I would say that Jared Goff needed to do better. I don't believe it was him. But what I do believe, which is also an adjustment that the Niners made, is they took Amon-Ra St. Brown out of the second half.
yeah.
He was killing them, carving them up the middle, uh, doing everything they had to do, and then he was forced to pass the ball to Reynolds, who had gator arms and dropped 2 clear first downs. It would have moved the sticks and given them that momentum or pushed them forward, and it absolutely did not happen. They silenced McCaffrey essentially in the first half. He scored in the first half, but he was not. The Lions outrushed him. Like every player that was rushing on Lions had more rushing yards than McCaffrey. And in the second half, McCaffrey ran free. But I think another part that I really want to highlight here is Brock Purdy, because he used his legs when he needed to, and it absolutely helped that Niners offense immensely. When he was able to get out of the pocket and scramble. There was a few scrambles. I think it was 3 to be specific that he had in that game that were huge for the Niners. Uh, and it absolutely helped. So for people that say that he's a game manager, at this point, I know what Cam says, and I'm still with him in totality. But in that game, and in the last game too, Brock Purdy has stepped up and shown something completely different that I've seen from him. So
These first halves for these Niners teams in the last 2 games, um, last week against the Packers too, were definitely slow, and they got into trouble. And if they didn't adjust and play better and started with Purdy, then yeah, they wouldn't be at this point now,
yeah,
right? Of course, but in the second half, his passer rating went up 100 points, pretty much,
yeah,
and he had 49 rushing yards. He had -1 in the first half. I'm sure that got screwed up with the kneel downs at the end, but
yeah.
whatever. And 174 passing yards in the second half, and he only missed three throws. But yeah, it was you. I like Brock Purdy. I like pretty much any quarterback in this system, but I don't necessarily think he's uh there's a little bit of this is
He's
Kyle Shanahan in here, and
yeah, he's
there's a
not a
little bit
world
of
beater. Yeah.
like there's
Mhm,
talent here. I know
mhm.
Alex Smith said, as the unofficial president of the game manager fan club, he's not allowed in. And I think a lot of people took that, as not what he meant, as in he's too good to
Yeah,
be in the
to
game
be yeah,
manager
yeah.
club. And I totally agree with that. I mean, uh, yeah, he totally stepped it up. They dared him to run, which is not something he does, you know, uh, often. And he looked good. One thing I was concerned about with mounting a comeback is he struggles with like the deep ball, and it helps that Debo, CMC, Ayuk are so good after the catch that you can throw the ball 5 yards, and these guys are such good playmakers that they're gonna turn in some yards. But he had
5 all pros
yeah,
on
y-
offense.
yeah, you're gonna turn it into some big gains there. I mean that first catch that Ayuk had where he bounced it off the defender there and caught it, like that was huge, like a nice throw, and right where it needed to be. Yeah, so it was an impressive showing, and the team definitely woke up. I I still think I won't say it's a complete collapse on the Lions end. I know it looked really bad, but I at least admire that Dan Campbell stayed true to like what he has done for the last 3 years, and this team doesn't necessarily is not afraid in that regard.
I'm
Um,
not afraid.
and to golf to the Reynolds part, he dropped 2 huge balls. He's been catching passes from Jared Goff for what, like 6 years now, between his time in LA and now. So it's you know um not what you want for sure, but they took Amon-Ra out of the game. I mean, Laporta still had a big game, but they just didn't make the adjustments, especially on the defensive end in the second half. And when you have a talented team like San Francisco and a talented play caller like Shanahan, you're going to get burned.
Well, I mean, it's easy when you see what happened the week prior to with Cam Sutton. Is he was absolutely, again, he was going against a future Hall of Famer in Mike Evans, which is a hard ask for anybody. But Cam Sutton absolutely got exposed there, and he got exposed again. And he's been one of the weaker points of that defense, but also a bigger issue, which I text Dame while this was happening. Tackling or lack thereof is a major issue, especially for the Lions. In totality throughout the league, I've
Oh,
watched
it's bad.
defenders throughout the whole year, and I'm sure it has to do with the teaching of, like, if I'm going to be, this is going to be the serious side, and then I'm going to give you the funny side. The serious side is it's clearly technique is not being taught properly and not understanding what you're supposed to do when it comes to tackling. But also trying to understand these young men are flying full speed ahead, and they're trying to also not target, right? Because that hitbox changes depending on the level of the offensive player when they move and adjust, right? The funny side of me says is I think these guys just like legs, because they just continuously try to do leg tackles as if it's a good idea. What would make you think it's a good idea to tackle a person that has legs the size of, like, Saquon Barkley, and think it's going to work? It's not going to work. That's literally what they do. If you look at Christian McCaffrey's legs, bro, stop going there. Midsection is where you're supposed to be. From
I
collarbone down to the lower end of stomach. That's where you're supposed to be hitting. That's where you're supposed to be hitting.
Do you think I mean, I agree with you, and it's something we've definitely talked about throughout the season. It's just, tackling is an issue, and there's been so many rule changes. Do you think it's because there's clearly a difference between, like, going after headhunting, right? Like,
Yeah.
whatever they call that. I'm drawing a blank here, but
Targeting.
between that, what's that?
Targeting.
Targeting. You're right. Thanks. So, do you think, like, just the amount of oversight that's on that has you know, led to poor tackling, poor
Yes.
technique,
Yes.
and
How many times have you
not going
watched?
after quarterbacks' legs and headhunting and all that other stuff. Like, it's
Prime example is the quarterback on the next game that we'll be talking about, Patrick Mahomes. How many times have you seen safeties fly down into the box, have a free shot at Mahomes, and essentially run right past him?
yeah,
Right? It's
except for
it's it,
Jadeveon,
it's
he
it's
nailed
not
him, but
it's
yeah,
not that he is shifty in his own right, right? But these guys are way too talented to be missing somebody and not even touching them at all.
yeah,
Like
they're
that's
more
that's
just shook that they're gonna get a PI or something,
exactly, because
or
if you hit a
a
guy, if
yeah,
you hit a quarterback too hard, it's roughing the passer,
roughing the
or
passer. Yep.
it's ridiculous, which is why I keep saying it will be playing flag football soon. So it is what it is. It sucks. I do think it's a combination of the rules and learning where they have to hit. There's also obviously combinations of certain tackles that have to happen, and also technique being taught. I think depending, you watch a Ravens team outside of outside of this game, of all games, you watch the Ravens all year, and you wouldn't even think, you know that they're taught how to tackle on that team. You watch them all year long, and then obviously this game not so much. Before we get to that game, is there anything else you want to say about this particular game?
I th-
I would,
yeah,
well, I did want to say I did enjoy seeing Eminem there and flipping off the Niners fans. That was very, very greatly appreciated. I love that. I did all in all, excuse me. All in all, for me, my biggest takeaway is that the Lions have a huge ceiling. And from knee biting to hear this team has their coach,
Yep.
this team has their quarterback, this team has their offense. Defense, I do absolutely believe they need to shore up the defense, and I like their defensive coordinator. I forgot his name.
Is it Aaron Glenn?
Is that his name? I think so. Yeah,
Is
yeah.
it Aaron Glenn? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Um, but I very much so know they need to shore that side up. But all in all, the Lions are going to be a really good team, and I want to give a shout out to Lions fans. I know they were very, very upset and heartbroken. But if I'm a Lions fan, or I'm just somebody that's not a Lions fan, but I've just been watching from a distance and bigging up what they do, Lions fans, there is no need for you to hang your head. You guys haven't been anywhere near this point in so long, and now you finally have a team to cheer for, to rally behind, and that I believe will be around an NFC in the top 3 to 4 for the next few years. So hold on to that.
Yeah, I think I mean I already said it. I mean, and you said at the top too. This is how their head coach plays football. They
Yep.
lived and
Yep.
died by it. They probably won some extra games throughout the year because of it, and I hope he continues to stay true to it. I mean, I mean, we make fun of. It's interesting because we made fun of Brandon Staley for years for the same kind of thing, except
Who's that?
yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I guess I hear he's going back to LA maybe to be the
What LA?
the Rams to be the DC.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, not the other LA.
I also heard rumors he's potentially willing to come to Philly to work under Vic again, Vic Fangio. So
Okay. Well, that's something. Have fun with that.
I don't want that.
So, like when it works great. We talk
Yep.
about it a lot. I mean, there was speaking of Brandon Staley, like that game against the Raiders where they had the interim coach after Gruden got fired. What's his name? Rich something, whatever. You go for it on like this fourth down, it didn't work, you don't make the playoffs. Like literally the last game of the year. And it kind of changed and made him a little like gun shy, right? A little
Mhm.
kind of changed. You could see he's thinking way too much about things. That's been the knack on him for since that happened,
Yeah.
So I hope that doesn't change Dan Campbell too much there or the team.
I don't think it will.
But why I picked the Niners and I was really confident of the two games, I was the most confident the Niners were going to win was because we've talked about it all year. We've seen this Lions team kind of fall apart, lose games that they shouldn't lose, and lose after like having leads or just not showing up. And we see it happen way too many times, despite the team still winning, 11 or 12 games.
Yeah.
Still had a hell of a year. And again, you're kind of playing with house money. I know Lions fans hate to say it, like hear that because it's, you were so close and you've had such a run and it kind of seemed like America is behind you, right? Like everyone wants the Lions to do well here. But you're right. They have a really high ceiling and, the floor is what it is. And hopefully they continue to build on that. But yeah, they should really be proud of how they played and, throughout the year. And, they definitely have a young team that playing, we're just talking about all these rules or lack thereof and how hard it is to play defense. Playing cornerback's got to be the hardest position to play in sports, if
Yeah.
not top
Yeah.
3.
Especially if you're
I
left
don't
on
even
an
know how you do it.
island. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I don't know how you do it. It makes you appreciate, the true standouts at the position because, it is geared towards the quarterback and the receivers, no doubt.
That's for sure. Speaking of quarterbacks, we had two great quarterbacks in this matchup. Chiefs and Ravens. Chiefs win 17 to the Ravens 10, which should have absolutely been like the Ravens 24. Uh it's 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 it was so saddening, Sam, watching that game. At the same time, it's eerily similar to watching, as I mentioned earlier, the Brady era. We're watching a guy that could arguably be the greatest quarterback in the history of football when time is done. And already he's starting to slowly creep up on Tom. If he gets a ring here, which I pray in this situation he gets a ring, um, we'll get to that when we get to our Super Bowl preview, which is obviously not here. We have a weekend between, which the Pro Bowl, which I won't be watching, and a whole nother thing in itself. But man, the Ravens, I just really hate that people are running with the narrative of Lamar when he gets into these moments, he can't do it. Well, first off, this is the first time Lamar has been in the championship game. That's number one. And he's going against Patrick Mahomes, who has been in this game for the last 6 years straight, if I remember correctly.
I think it's 6. Yeah.
It's 6 years straight.
Yeah.
This is the first year that they were on the road. He played the last 2 games on the road, not at Arrowhead. And Patrick Mahomes was absolutely a tyrant. I just want to make that very, very clear. Let's start prior to the game. I don't know if you peeped what happened.
You sent it to me, yeah.
Well, he's out here messing with the greatest kicker of all time, Justin Tucker, who is warming up, and Mahomes is warming up right next to him, and kicks the contraption to set up the field goal, the field goal triangle, kicks it several times, is talking to him. Tucker puts it back down. He turns around to go and set up. Mahomes throws it out the way and goes back. And you can see Tucker is like, okay, dude, like you're really doing this. And I'm going to tell you right now, I loved every second of it. I did. I loved every second of it because he knows that any competitive advantage I can get to get you off your game, because I know you're the greatest kicker of all time, I'm going to do it. And he did it. It's not like Tucker had any clutch point at any point in time to have to worry about it. But still, I loved every second of it.
I understand that what you're trying to say there. I think of, despite being the greatest kicker of all time, like, I don't think it would have done anything.
No. Well, I mean, I don't know.
I just think he is, just like I think if the same thing happened, vice versa, it probably wouldn't have.
You never know. You never know what it's going to do to you, which is why, because everybody has a routine, Sam.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And
if
you're
you
off,
play,
you're off your game, and it's all of a sudden, the next you're out of sync. I understand. I totally.
You're gonna do whatever you can to get somebody off their shit, no matter what. And people have tried it with certain people. It doesn't work with certain people. It just it adds fuel to the fire. You're poking the bear, right? Some people it will, but I agree with you, and I don't really think it would have done anything to him. But who knows? Who knows? We'll never know now. Honestly,
you're right. And when it comes to this game, I felt the same way with the other game. Is even when the Niners tied it up, it didn't feel like, again, because of momentum, it didn't feel like it was even a close game in my head. Maybe because you saw this team unravel, and you saw the Niners taking advantage of it, and the way like CMC just run again. This zone running scheme is, I've talked about it till my like till I'm blue in the face. It's so freaking good, and you already have one of the best running backs in the league already. So you can make guys like Isaiah Mitchell and Jordan Mason look like pretty good running backs. Now we don't know because we haven't seen him outside of San Francisco. But then you add, best running back in the league, maybe up there, conversation, whatever. And it didn't even seem close, and it kind of felt this way, especially like, all right, the Chiefs score quickly to begin the game, and then it's kind of going back and forth. But then it seems like the Ravens just abandoned the run completely, aside from
Lamar didn't even run.
And they weren't even they weren't scheduled runs either. It was, okay, my second read is covered. I got to do something here. I can't hold on to the ball. And it's it's a shame there. I mean, some crazy plays going on and whatnot, but it just, they ran the ball. I think it was like 3 times in the second half or something crazy like that, and Gus Edwards only had a couple rushes total, like
3.
yeah, 3 for 20. Like, so as much as we like praise Todd Monken for kind of taking the next step in this offense and being the first year OC for this team, at least, and evolving what Greg Roman has done for so long, like they just kind of threw it out the window. And I know like they were trailing, and
I can't even. I'm not even going to bring Todman into this, Sam. Let's stop right there for a second. It's because Zay dove for, which is a cardinal sin, dove for a touchdown and got it punched out by Snead. Right? Then what does he do? He goes to the bench and slams his hand against the bench and cuts his hand open.
Well, I'm not going to kill him for diving into the end zone, but yeah, getting frustrated.
I'm telling you right now, that is literally a cardinal sin to dive in an end zone because of the rule of the touchback. Everybody knows it, and it happened. Now, yes, to your point, am I going to blame him for trying to put the effort in of doing that? No, but it doesn't really turn out well in that situation. And in such a clutch situation, like he is strong enough to run through that. And I understand what he was trying to do. And in heat of moment, you're not thinking of the ball getting punched out. You're not.
No.
You're just not.
No.
So I understand it from
I don't
that
even think he saw Snead.
Well, that's also a problem too. That's an issue. And his rookie, I guarantee he won't do that again unless he knows that he's good, right? So there's that. Odell, I don't know where he was. And when Odell came and consoled Lamar at the end, I told Dame this too. I was watching the video of Odell come over, and he was hugging Zay earlier and consoling him, and then he came over and consoled Lamar and put his arms around him. If I'm Lamar and Odell's in my ear, I'm saying, bro, get your hands off me because your ass didn't get open for me at all. There was no separation for you. Get away from me. I'm going to need you to separate from me before I separate these eyes from your face, is what I would have said. Something like that. It's also the coach on the other end. Spags is known to take and dismantle your team, and he's done it over and over and over and over again. This team, this defense under Spags, the whole entire year has not wavered, Sam. They have literally played phenomenal all year long. Yes, they've obviously lost games and so on and so forth, but they've been the true focal point of this team this year. They've been the part that's carried this team, even when the offense being down. And what's so crazy about this, Sam, is we talked on this podcast, everywhere on media talked about how Mahomes in this offense this is one of the worst offensive cores, wide receiving cores. They should have traded, done this, done that, blah, blah, blah. And this is a down year for Mahomes. And yet this dude is still going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The throws that he made to Kelsey over the middle, throwing across his body, throwing the lobs up.
Just think of where we were 2 months ago, a month ago.
Yeah.
In this Chiefs team, and just like you're never going to count Mahomes out, but this doesn't look great. And despite the efforts of the defense, you mentioned the Patriots comparison, and I swear to you, I had this conversation with a friend like 2 weeks ago where it was like, Mahomes, this Chiefs team reminds me of the Patriot teams like in between the dynasty, right? Like the 2010 early 2010s team where it wasn't like a world beater on the end, like no Randy Moss, like you don't have a crazy running game. The defense is always solid and you can never count Tom Brady out. And like that's what I know the comparisons to those teams now are going crazy, and rightfully so, but you have an experienced team that have been here before. Patrick Mahomes has lost 3 playoff games in his career, and 6 AFC Championship games. That means one loss was in a Super Bowl, so the other two were losing championship game. Like
Yeah,
that is as close to like a dynasty that you're going to get.
it
Like
is a dynasty
it
already.
is. Oh no, it totally is. If it's not, I don't know what you're comparing it
Mhm.
to. I mean, the bar has to be really high, but
It is, and
and
he is the greatest quarterback we have seen talent wise ever to this point already. He's gonna get more rings. We're already seeing this, and I'm already saying it right now. They're gonna win this Super Bowl. It's just gonna happen.
and it's interesting. You're at 2 Super Bowls without Tyreek, who we do not question his talent and his impact on a team. And even though it's been ugly, they got there. They've now at another they're at a Super Bowl without Bieniemy, where a lot of that question was, well, how much of it is Bieniemy? What is
Yep,
And again, I know you'll agree with me. We still think Eric Bieniemy is a hell of a coordinator and
I
should
do.
be a coach somewhere soon.
Mhm.
Well overdue. And now you have I know he didn't have a huge game, but 8 for 46. You have Rashee Rice, like now is the number one wideout on this team, no question. And it looked like a month ago Kelsey was not as a shell of himself. He was laboring. He's not looking. He's dropping a lot of passes all year. He's not looking healthy, and he showed why he is now has the most receptions in postseason history,
I
because
mean, he's the greatest
he's
tight
just
end that
as
we've ever seen.
yeah.
It's crazy that they have two of the greatest positions ever offensively on one team. We have the greatest tight end in Kelsey, and you have the greatest quarterback in Mahomes. And they have the greatest marketing scheme with Taylor Swift. Thank you, Ravens, for allowing us to continue to see Taylor. You know what pissed me off at the end of that game is they had a dedicated camera to Taylor walking off the field, Sam. I don't know.
I saw that.
Did you watch
I
it?
saw that. Yeah, because we were at a bar, and okay, so all the girls at this bar were in a sports bar in northern New Jersey, and all the girls are either wearing Chiefs stuffs or red and cheering when the Chiefs are doing things. And then all of the guys in the bar are cheering for the Ravens.
Yes, because
And then
everybody wants it over.
we were sitting next to a Raven fan, and he was like, "Oh, Odell's on this team? I've totally forgot." Like when that goal line play that
Yeah,
pass that didn't happen. And every time they showed Taylor or the Chiefs did something, all the girls are going. It was really funny.
it's
But uh
so
yeah.
annoying.
And you mentioned Lamar, and I really hope that as a sports media conglomerate, we're past the Lamar thing. At least sports fans are past the Lamar thing.
No,
The
they're
knack
not.
on Lamar
No,
for
they're not.
year in my head, the knack on
Yeah,
Lamar is he's not healthy in the postseason. How many years have we had to see Tyler Huntley and or someone else take this team into the
yeah.
postseason?
This is the first time he was completely healthy. Yep.
And yeah, it wasn't a great game, but I don't really question Lamar Jackson. He's going to win his second
Yeah,
MVP,
yeah.
and I'm not worried about the future of this Ravens team.
Even
Certainly not.
even though there's tryhards out here, they're going to say McCaffrey should be it. No, no, he shouldn't.
No,
But
stop.
it's okay. Whatever. Um, let's close this out with something very very fun, and by fun I mean coach additions. So I'm just going to run down all the new coach changes slash additions, and when we get to the end, I want to see what Sam thinks about any of them. So first, Chargers hire Jim Harbaugh from Michigan, also
I've heard of
former
him.
Niners head
90s.
coach. The Raiders hire Antonio Pierce, who was the interim head coach, which I absolutely love, which we'll get to that. Rams hire Raheem Morris as their head coach, replacing
Atlanta
Arthur Smith.
hires.
Atlanta, that's what I meant. I'm sorry. Bye bye, Arthur. Panthers hire Bucks OC Dave Kennels. Is that how you say his last name?
I thought it was
Canales.
Canales, but
Canales.
I
Yep.
could be wrong.
I said it wrong. It's Canales. As their head coach. Titans replace Mike Vrabel
I've
with
heard
the
of him.
Bengals. Sam, hush. With Bengals OC Brian Callahan, and then Eagles replaced both coordinators 2 years in a row. um, with Vic Fangio as defensive coordinator and Kellen Moore as their offensive coordinator. And there's still coach vacancies remain, which is for the Commanders and for the Seahawks. And Bill Belichick is still out there floating somewhere, which I have a feeling he won't get hired this year.
I'm
Sam,
fine with him. Yeah.
Sam,
Do you care?
which one? Not even do you care? Which one stands out to you?
Well, I mean, clearly Harbaugh is the elephant in the room, right?
Yeah.
But and we haven't talked about it. We probably should at some point. I kind of I can make a case for liking all of these. I'll
Mhm.
let you comment on the Eagles thing. I think it's a home run on your team's part, and it just kind of shows that your boy up in the front office there knows what he's doing. Uh, I love that Antonio Pierce. I think that was inevitable. I love that he
Agreed.
is now the
Agreed.
guy in Vegas. There was no
There's nobody else it should have been. He's a child.
no.
It's his favorite team. That he won the locker room. They all love him, especially after having the coaches that they had, McDaniels and then Gruden before that, where it's kind of like messy both ways. And now you have a locker room that everybody loves this guy. Just I love it. I love it.
Raheem Morris, I didn't even know he was in contention for the Atlanta
I didn't
job.
either. I
That's
didn't either.
great.
I'm glad
And
he got another
really,
chance, right? Because he was who was he the head coach for
or
before,
he
wasn't he? Was he a
no,
head coach or was he
he was
just
the
D coordinator?
DC for yeah, I think he was just the DC, but I know he's been floated around for a while.
Yeah.
And he beat out Bill Belichick, and Bill got a second interview. Like that's gotta feel great. You know,
Sure does.
it I'm not going to question Bill Belichick going to a team. I think, any team would be wise to do it, but certain personalities, things need to happen. And I'm sure that's more of what that conversation with Atlanta was like for Bill. But, you know, what is the whole scope of the job? What are you going to let me do? I think a sneaky thing, and I'm not gonna lie, I did not know who this guy was until he got hired. But Dave Canales of the Panthers hire him. So here, you have an owner in Tepper that's just has fired or hired, he's had 6 coaches in 3 years, considering, or like 6 years considering all the interims. But this guy turned around Baker Mayfield. I forgot where he was before that. Only first year as an OC, that's kind of like that's a little you know hard to swallow. And is he ready to be a head coach? But he I forgot where he was before he went to the Bucks. Oh no, he helped turn around Geno in Seattle, and the guy who took over as GM for Carolina now was in Seattle.
Mm.
So now the GM brings in a guy he likes,
Yeah, he's familiar
and
with. Yep,
yeah, and that's got to help both parties here, especially when you have
for sure.
kind of a loose cannon and David Tepper, who
Kind of.
hopefully has learned his lesson there. And I like Brian Callahan. Did not put two and two together. That's Bill Callahan's kid.
Oh.
The one-time head coach of the Raiders and
Mhm.
offensive line guru. So that'll be interesting there. And yeah, I like all of these, especially the Morse thing caught me off guard.
Yeah.
I'm just glad it's not Arthur Smith, and we can draft Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson next year in fantasy.
I'm just really surprised that Vrabel doesn't have a job yet. I obviously know the Commanders are looking at the who's the OC that they're looking at for
Will they interview Bieniemy? I'm sure.
no. They want to retain Bieniemy potentially and keep him there, but where is this guy from? Oh, it's the Panthers. I think no, excuse me, the Niners. I think he's something with the Niners because he's an
They have a
offensive coordinator.
passing game coordinator and a run game coordinator
Yeah,
in San
it's
Francisco.
the I think it's because Shanahan is obviously he oversees the offense there, but I think it's the offensive coordinator for the Niners. I think that technically he's that. Um, and he's the one that is apparently going to be the head coach for the Commanders. That's what the rumor is at this point. But yeah, Vrabel
I know they
is
were looking at Ben Johnson too with the Lions OC and the Ravens DC, right? Mike McDonald. They were looking at him too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So surprised with Vrabel. I kind of am surprised with Belichick, especially to your point of the Raheem Morris. I did not see that coming at all. But here we are, and I'm not mad at it. I mean, I'm not mad at it at all. I'm happy for him. Let him do what he's got to do. And yeah, I also didn't know Brian Greasy is the quarterback coach on the
Yeah.
Niners.
He left ESPN to go to be the quarterback coach there.
That's very, very
Yeah.
interesting. The Cubics, are they they're the sons of the former head coach? Looks like it because there's two of them in there.
I'm sorry,
Anyway,
who? Kubiak? Who'd you say?
Kubiak, yes, I'm sorry. Yes,
Yeah.
Kubiak.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
the two
Gary
sons.
Kubiak's kids, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Um,
Interesting. Very interesting. I'll get to the Eagles.
I've heard of them too.
Sam, shut up.
Sorry.
I am very, very happy with both hires. I know the rumor is in what's been talked about, especially because Drew Rosenhaus is obviously defending his guys in Miami. But the rumor is that Vic would not compromise. He didn't get along with certain players, and they have pinpointed to this certain unit that he didn't get along with, which is the secondary, which is the DBs. It wasn't the line, it wasn't the linebackers, it was the DBs. So Jalen Ramsey didn't like how he's utilized, which is why I think they went and got a guy from the Rams that is used to having him just roam around and do all the stuff like that. Yeah, I also love. I think I love the Kellen Moore thing way more. And I know the thing that's being talked about a whole lot is them not Kellen Moore's offense not really running the ball, because we saw what happened with Austin Eckler out with the Chargers, and we know the Eagles have a great O line, even though it somehow some way imploded in the latter half of the season. I'm sure he'll scheme open runs, but I'm just really, really excited for Devontae Smith and AJ Brown to have a crazy route tree that'll be coming their way and actually put them in motion, being that Eagles were dead last in motion and the Chargers were sixth in motion this year.
I didn't know that. I know
Yes.
Kellen Moore he runs it. He
Yep.
does play a lot of motion and it's just quick. Like the calls come out quick. You saw it I didn't watch too much of the Chargers this year, only, to see these awful games, but
Why would you? Brandon Staley was there.
Right. So but in Dallas too, and that was one of the concerns I had with McCarthy was, all right, now we're slowing this game down again.
Yep.
But again, Dak played well last year, or this year, all things considered. But still, I'm excited for that. See, it didn't quite work with Justin Herbert. He was hurt pretty much a lot of that year, but I'm excited to see what Jalen Hurts does in this offense and what Kellen takes from his past stops here to help this team, because even though you're losing Kelsey here, you still have
That's not necessarily true yet.
well, I mean the rest of the line.
No, I'm saying it's not necessarily true that we're losing Kelsey yet.
Didn't he retire officially?
Nope.
No.
He did not. He did
Oh.
not. He's been he said at the end of or in the locker room after last game that the rumor is that he said to the guys that he essentially wouldn't be coming back. But everything that he said in recent times, like he just said something literally the other day of basically saying that, next year, talking about the team next year, but also at the same time said that he would love to be a part of the team in some capacity too. So we don't know if he's officially retiring or not, but it sounds like he's leaning towards playing another year. I don't know. I would love, obviously, if he played another year. I mean, he's arguably one of the best centers in the league, if not the best center, right? So, yeah, I'm excited for Kellen Moore being there, especially for Jalen to get the ball out of his hands way quicker, because holding on to the ball way too long is not it, and also allowing Jalen to get healthy is huge because he 100% was not himself this year. You can see from what he did last year running to this year, it was not even comparable. So yeah.
I don't want to I don't want to put you on the spot here, but we have to ask because if anything, I'm more curious because of the kind of collapse that your team had and your
Mhm.
reaction to it. Now, clearly, you are an Eagles fan. You are a proud Eagles fan. You didn't collapse. Your team did. Um, so your thoughts there because the last podcast we had, you ripped the Cowboys going crazy,
Oh yeah,
and
I enjoyed
again,
that.
yeah, I know you did, and people enjoyed hearing it. But then, 3 hours later, your team just the end of a collapse here.
Sam, the
So
season was over for me once I saw what the Eagles did against the Niners. If I'm
you
being
can't.
truthful to you. No.
No, you can feel deflated, but you can't say your season's over. I mean, I don't.
Sam, who knows if I come to you and talk to you about your Jets and start telling you about your Jets, you're going to tell me about myself because you know your Jets. You've watched every game about them. You watch everything about them. You know your team inside and out. I know the Eagles inside and out, and I know when they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I watched how they played. I watched how Bradbury played. I watched how that secondary played. We're getting Reed Blankenship getting burnt. When Sidney Brown tore his ACL at MetLife, I saw what happened. When the linebackers with Morrow, who is god awful, and I hope he's not on the team next year. I saw what happened. That D line, that D line that's supposed to be one of the best D lines and continue to do what they did last year. Yeah, non-existent. When you're dropping Hassan Reddick back into coverage, when you're dropping Sweat back into coverage, and not having these guys actually rush, which they're really good at doing, having the change from Sean Desai to Patricia, who I absolutely cannot stand. And I hated the idea that they hired him from the beginning. As soon as it happened, I was like, yeah, I'm good with what the outcome is going to be for the season because it just is what it is. They made no adjustments. They did nothing. Offensively, they made no adjustments. And how are we going to beat teams? We're going to just screen you to death. We're going to throw a screen every single time we have an opportunity. You can literally see the frustration in the player's face because they even knew what was coming over and
Yeah,
over and over again, right?
it's the
So
thing I was screaming about Adam Gase for years. It's
yeah,
like, why
the players
is
knew it.
every
Everything you need to know, Sam, and I know you know from that Adam Gase comment that you just said. All you have to do is watch the players.
yeah,
If the players are disconnected, you know what time your team is on. So of course, yes, when they went to go and play the Bucks, I was like, there's a potential chance. But I've literally said it. I wish I would have said it to you, and I wish I would have had the opportunity to say it here on the podcast so people could just hear me and flat out say what I really said to several people that actually asked me. And I'll show you even a text of somebody asked me before the game. And it was like, what are you going to do? What do you think the Eagles are going to do against the Bucks? And I said lose. Because I've watched and know what this team is going to do. And I'm obviously, I'm not happy that they lost after the way
no,
that they
I understand.
started, right?
Yeah,
In
yeah,
totality, they started off 10-1,
yeah.
had all that. Obviously, I'm not happy with the verdict is of having it. They're the first team to start off 10-1 and not get I think it was 11 wins or 12
Well,
wins.
I think it was 11 or
11
no, it
wins,
was
right?
12.
12
Yeah,
wins,
something like
right?
that. Yeah.
So that's a
But
major
yeah,
it's the fact that Nick Sirianni, the only reason Nick Sirianni kept his job
it's because
is
he made it to
because
the
they
Super Bowl
went
last year.
to Super Bowl last year. This is
Yeah.
the only reason he kept his job. Period.
So do you think the seat's already warm going into the next
Oh,
year?
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Especially, I'm telling you right now, if Bill doesn't get hired, in this offseason, which I believe he's not going to be, do not forget where Jeffrey Lurie is
Dude,
from. Do not forget where Jeffrey Lurie, the team he wanted to buy, but was beat
I
to
didn't
buying.
think I didn't even think even with all of the Sirianni BS that has happened in the last couple weeks, I did not even think about Bill Belichick.
Bro, I'm
That's really scary.
I'm
Like
tell
scary good. Like
I'm telling you right now, do not be surprised if Bill does not get a team. Bill is looking for a team with a quarterback that is a solid quarterback and that he can build up. He's looking for a builder upper, which the Eagles could potentially be, and they have a potential in so many spots. They just need to put together. So I'm telling you, if Sirianni doesn't do what they do, and I really wish people would stop complaining and talking about, oh well, If he's not overseeing the offense, he's not overseeing the defense, what he's going to do. There's plenty of coaches in the league that don't oversee either of those, and they just coach because that's all they need to do.
Did Nick call plays? Did he take it away from
Sam?
whoever?
Sam, we do not have enough time for what happened when it came to that. Okay,
I got you.
We do not.
So Kellen's gonna call plays.
Yes, that was literally in the press conference
I
that
didn't watch it. Yeah.
Sirianni is not touching the offense, that he's relinquishing that. He's not going to have influence. Obviously, they're going to talk about the game plan or whatever, but they said prior to the Kellen Moore that whoever the coordinator is, that they are going to have full reign to do what they had to do, which says to me that he stopped Brian Johnson from doing, which was the rumor, stopped him from doing and calling plays the way that he wanted to call plays. So whatever. I'm just happy it's over.
Sometimes it just needs to be over. And we both said this about the Yankees last year, like when it was just before it completely, like before the wheels fell off and they finished in whatever place they did. It was like, I just want the season to be over. We're not going anywhere. So I understand your sentiment. And it sucks. I think because the Cowboys are the Cowboys, you kind of got off easy, but not that you wouldn't welcome that criticism because it would invoke change, and it has.
I'm not worried about what the Eagles do because they make changes and they still progress and go further than the Cowboys. So I'm not worried about it at all. When Cowboys fans come at me, and I've seen particular friends of yours make sure they put comments on there and laugh back at me. But I will, at the end of the day, I will always consistently have a laugh against the Cowboys because they haven't done anything, period. They haven't been to an NFC Championship. They haven't even sniffed a Super Bowl. So I will always have the upper hand and laugh because I've watched my team go to Super Bowl way more than you have as an adult. So enjoy that.
Yeah. That's fine. Hey, that's fine. I really don't care either way. I mean, I'm not a Cowboy fan. I will say, I didn't want to kick you when you were down, and I know you would have just laughed, but my sister texted me the second that game was winding down. It's like, tell Brandon I said hi. I thought it was really funny. I was like, why don't you just text me?
Yeah, you could text me. You can say hi. We can have a nice little conversation about your Cowboys.
And I know Rex Ryan said this over the weekend when talking about Bill Belichick. It, learn from me, take the year off kind of thing. Like I think every coach said. I was equally upset that we hired Adam Gase when we did as the Jets because he just got fired from Miami. Like a week earlier. Like let it sit, go learn something, go take some time off, refresh, go to learn some new concepts, do some new things, like you can come back. So like I don't care. I'm not up in arms that Bill Belichick is not have a job. If he will find the job that he wants, and I'm sure
he will.
I'm sure there's 20 owners right now that would hire Bill Belichick next season and get rid of their coach.
Yeah, like we'll see what happens because it's bound to happen. I'll say this before we get out of here. I love the Vic Fangio hire because of where he's from. He's a diehard Eagles fan. This is the team that he loves. He's a diehard Phillies fan. So it makes all the sense. He was supposed to be the coordinator last year. Jonathan Gannon can still kick rocks because that was one of the reasons why it didn't happen. But I'm gonna tell you right now, the name that wasn't even talked about because he hasn't coached, that I was praying the Eagles even entertained for a moment, was the person you just mentioned, Rex Ryan. Bring Rex home to Philly, where his father is an absolute legend, and that he is also a defensive guru in his own right. And I'm telling you right now, if Vic doesn't work, hire Rex. Please just hire Rex. Because all of his defenses, no matter what, all of his defenses have absolutely been phenomenal. So
that was always my thing when he was our head coach. I wish we had a competent offensive mind because he was, and Saleh does this way too much too, where he's like so focused on the defense. And I get it. Like that's that's what you know, that's what you're like, you know, all of that, and you trust in your coordinators to do their jobs and stuff. But, you know, I wish we had better offensive coordinators over the last couple decades in New York. But yeah, I wish Rex would. I don't know how much of it is he doesn't want to go backwards, but I think
I
if
don't
you
think I
know,
don't think he's
I don't
against.
know, I don't
I
know.
don't think he's against that. I mean, ESPN's paying him pretty
Oh yeah,
handsomely at this
he's
point, but I think it's he would love an opportunity, and I'm telling you right now, he's a legacy guy, right? Like he was rooting for the Lions. He was rooting for the Lions because his son is on the staff, right? He's
yeah,
rooting for the Lions there, right? Obviously, you know he was rooting for the Ravens too because of his history. He's a legacy guy, right? And the fact that his father is a staple in Eagles history, you're telling me that if the Eagles got on the phone and were like, "Hey Rex, we want to bring you home. What do we got to do? We just solely want you to worry about defense, and that's it." Because again, there's a lot of ego that goes into it. But if I'm a guy that's like a head coach, or I'm a guy that's really good at defense, like, listen, Rex, you clearly see that we need defense. We know you're the guy to do it. We're going to pay
right.
you this money. We're going to worry about the other side. You don't have to worry about nothing else. We know, obviously, you want head coach money and stuff like that, but we want you to be defense, and we're going to pay you handsomely, right? Just do it. Open up the checkbook, right? And that's what I would do as an owner. Be like, listen, I need this and I need this. I need somebody really, really good at this and really, really good at that, and we'll co-coach the team or whatever. But that's just me. Whatever. Anyway, Sam, close this out, man.
Yeah, man. Episode 121, Chasing Points podcast in the books. Thanks so much for listening. Smash the like button, subscribe button on the YouTubes. I hate when YouTube people say that. I like, or podcasts or whatever. I hate it. I hate it. I
It's the
think it's
thing,
so
man.
stupid.
It's the
I know
thing.
it's what they say. Maybe I'll get comfortable saying it,
You will.
but do it. And that's it. Last surprise, do you care? Pro Bowl is this week. Do you care? I
I
love
don't.
this question.
No.
Yeah, me neither. That's it. Yeah. Till next week. Peace.
Bye.